My guest this week is a comedian, an author, an actor, and a Twitter Nazi hunter. Michael Ian Black, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Which one of those would you say you mostly are? Is it Twitter Nazi hunter or comedian?
Probably Twitter Nazi hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not particularly funny these days on Twitter. I'm just annoying.
You are fighting the Nazis constantly on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
And my policy with the Nazis is, congratulations, you guys came up with a meme and you're alone in your basement. But you like engaging these people. Or I don't know if you like it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you do engage these people.
I think it's valuable and important to engage these people.
Yeah.
Because I think it's worth the larger public knowing that they're out there.
Yeah.
Knowing that there is this subculture. I don't even know how large it is. I'm assuming it's very small.
Yeah, it's like sub.
Yeah, but they're very vocal, and my sense is there are more sympathizers than actual participants, and so I feel sort of duty bound to hold them up as idiots, so that those who may be inclined to sympathize go, oh wait, they're idiots.
Yeah, they're always anonymous too, right? Are you ever fighting a Nazi that's like, hi, I'm a Nazi, and this is my real picture?
Nope. It's always either some prepubescent Japanese anime avatar, or some repurposed like Hitler Youth avatar.
Right. What do you make of the Japanese anime thing related to that? Because I don't think there's any connections between Japanese anime and Hitler.
No, not between Japanese anime and Hitler, but there's absolutely some kind of connection between those who would move towards that ideology and fetishizing prepubescent Japanese girls. There's absolutely a connection there. I'll leave it to brighter minds than mine to try to tie those two things together, but that absolutely exists.
Right, you're just exposing them, and now it's for the social scientists to figure out that. Are you ever afraid that sometimes that by fighting with them, that it's almost like elevating their relevance?
Well, first of all, I don't fight with them.
Not fighting with them, but by exposing them and arguing.
Well,
or
I think
there's
absolutely a case to be made for that.
Yeah.
And but I think it's more important, from my point of view, to show that they're there and to just say, look, this is who we're living among, and in the context of the current political climate, I think it's important to let people know that these people exist, and that given the right circumstances, more of them could pop up.
Yeah. Now, I take it you wouldn't be for banning them, right? Like you're exposing them, but you would let them do their thing.
You do what you do. That's why we have a First Amendment.
Yeah. All right. Good.
No, and I don't report them. I don't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
I just show them.
Yeah. So wait. So let's back up to the first thing you said, which is I used to be funny. Is that what you said? I used to be funny, or
I am not funny on Twitter.
I'm
just annoying.
Yeah. So I feel that since I've been doing this, I mean, I did stand-up in 12 years in New York and a couple of years out here. I used to be funny. I was. I mean, I can get you some letters to show you later. I was funny at one time, but now I'm talking about all this serious stuff all the time. And I like to try to pepper some comedy in there when I can. But the world just feels particularly crazy right now, doesn't it?
Which should be ideal for comedy.
Right.
But I'm not good at making light of things that I find deadly serious. I'm just not good at it. I mean, there's great political comedians out there, and I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
I can talk about my own life, I think, in a funny way, but I can't. I mean, there's people better able to talk about Trump and be hilarious than me.
Yeah. So we'll get to Trump in a second. So. I always think of you more so as, or until the last year or so, I always thought of you more as like social commentary, all the I Love the 80s stuff, all that stuff, and a lot of the movies you've been in. It's sort of more like personal social commentary. Did you ever think you were going to be more in the political sphere? Because that's sort of where I put you now. But
well, I mean, I don't really consider myself in the political sphere now. I mean, the last thing the world needs is another jerk-off comedian spouting off about politics. I don't aspire to be that person.
Yeah.
But if I can set aside being a comedian and just be a citizen who's interested in this stuff, that's sort of how I view myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely am not, I'm not an activist. I'm not marching. I take no action. I do nothing other than I have this Twitter platform, and that's how I express myself politically.
Yeah, you do tweet while flying first class.
Yeah,
because that's the first time we had any face-to-face interaction. I was going to, coach.
You're going way in the back.
And you sort of dismissively waved
because it was embarrassing for both of us.
As a first class, I've only flown first class once, and it was on a little plane from Detroit to New York. So it was like 8 people, and first class was just that I was in the first seat. Right. It wasn't anything special. But as a first class flyer, do you feel that we shouldn't be allowed to look at you? I always feel like when I'm walking through,
no.
I shouldn't be allowed to look.
You're misunderstanding maybe the main joy of first class,
which is
we're seated first.
Yeah.
So the people walking back are forced to look at us already ensconced in our blanket, already ordering our beverage of choice, maybe already asleep, maybe getting massaged from the chair. Like there's all kinds of things that it's important for the business model of the airlines and for my own self-esteem that you see walking back to steerage that I have that you do not.
Right. That's interesting because I always thought there should be one-way glass so that you could gawk at us, but that we wouldn't
I have no desire to see you.
Yeah.
You don't exist for me.
Complete
But
irrelevant.
I very much exist for you.
Yeah. Wow.
You're thinking about those fuckers in first class while you're crammed in your sardine little seat, stewing for the duration of your flight.
On that JetBlue flight, though, JetBlue lets you get your own soda. You can go up to like a thing. And I was almost going to peek around the curtain and just like nudge you.
They would have
tap.
escorted you out.
And I know you would have called people, and it would have been. They would have landed us in Salt Lake City or something. It would have been a disaster.
It would have been a disaster. I'm glad you didn't do that. I'm glad you had the foresight to know better than to do that. Because you would have been escorted out immediately.
Yeah. Well, speaking of social faux pas, let's move over to Trump because you have written a children's book about Trump.
Yes.
So you must love Trump, I assume. If you wrote a children's, everyone loves children's books. And
here's my problem. Despise Trump wrote a book about Trump, a kind of a children's book, a parody of a children's book, but it is a children's book at the same time. So I am exploiting the Trump brand as much as an actual Trump and making money off the Trump brand. So I don't know.
So it feels
right.
You're using a Trumpian tactic on Trump.
That's right.
Yeah. Where did the idea to make it a children's book come from?
I was at a bookstore and I saw a book about Hillary Clinton, a sort of, children's book, a rags to riches story about Hillary Clinton and an inspirational tale directed, I think, at young girls. And it made me chuckle a bit to think about what that would be like if you were to write about Trump, because he's not an inspirational figure in any way, shape, or form. He's just a toad. And so I just thought, well, let me try to do that.
Yeah. So if he's a toad, is that why they're used? that toad thing?
Yeah.
Is that where did that come from?
I don't know.
Pepe or Kiki? Or
I don't know where that comes from.
He's a toad with Trump hair.
But there's a lot of toads.
Yeah.
On that part of the internet.
What's with the toads?
I don't know.
We don't know. We have no idea.
I don't know. It took me long enough to figure out what the 3 parentheses meant.
Yeah. Wait. So the two.
No, it's 3.
The 2 mean you're Jewish, or
the 3.
Yeah.
It's.
I see. Oh, because there was some list or something that was exposed where they tried to expose people that were Jewish or something like that?
That came later. The 3 parentheses is meant to indicate an echo.
Right.
And it's like the Jewish echo. I'm not sure quite what that means, but that's what the 3 parentheses are meant to indicate.
Is that just like a nagging mother?
I don't think so. I think it's
something worse.
I think it's far worse than that. And then there was an app that just identified Jews for you.
Right.
I don't know. It's insane.
Yeah, so what do you make of just the general climate right now? Because to me, I've been off until this show, or we did one more, we relaunched last week. And for the 3 weeks that I took off, so to speak, it seems like the world, I was paying attention, I just didn't have a show to talk about it, and it seems like the world went even more crazy. But don't you think the last month seems like particularly nuts, sort of starting probably with the Pulse shooting, and then
I wouldn't say I'm numb to it. I'm past the point of being surprised that anything is happening.
Yeah.
It all feels of a piece to me. And I feel like I can kind of grasp the outlines of what that piece is. Which is, and to me, the larger story is sort of what is fueling all of this. And I think there's, I'm not particularly savvy about this. I'm just probably regurgitating what I've read, but it really does feel like we're at a moment where the foundations of capitalism are crumbling.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what to do.
So is that the scary part, that nobody knows what to do? Because I agree. It feels like something that there's like a real shift happening right now. And it's almost like we have no leaders, where even if you love Trump and if you have loved Clinton and Obama's on the way out, but even if you love him, that we don't have leaders who talk to us in an honest way. And that's part of the problem. Like, we're all walking around like, could somebody, like, I feel like everyone's looking around, could somebody help here? Is there anyone we could look to for a little honesty?
Well, first of all, I don't think Trump understands the problem better than let's say the average citizen. He knows how to exploit it, but I don't think he understands it. But I agree with you that there is no sort of global leader has stepped forward in a articulate, non-condescending way to say, this is what we're going through.
Yeah.
And here's where I think we need to move. It would be great if somebody would do that. I'd love for Hillary Clinton to spend an hour just talking into the camera and saying, this is where I think we are, this is why I think we're here, and this is where I think we need to go.
Yeah.
In a very mature, non-alarmist way.
Yeah. Are you a Hillary supporter?
I mean, I think I have the enthusiasm for Hillary that a lot of people have, which is, yeah.
I could just picture the GIF right there when I said, are you a Hillary supporter? The way you got it, because that's what everyone does. No one's like, there's I know there's a couple, but everyone's supporting Hillary. My friends that have been Democrats their whole life and family members. Are you supporting Hillary?
Well, but there's good reason for that. It was easy to gin up that enthusiasm for Obama because, as he himself said, he was a blank slate. Hillary has a 25, 30-year record, and it's very easy to cherry pick what you like and cherry pick what you don't like and say she's a villain, say she's a hero. She's a flawed human being, as we all are, and we know what her flaws are. So it's like, you know, it's like getting back together with an old girlfriend or something. You're like, you know,
right?
I still love her,
right?
You know,
but
I know she's going to be a pain in the ass. Yeah. God damn it, I still love her.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like.
So is that that's kind of dangerous thought, though, because Obama came in with the blank slate, and whether you like him or not, the idea that we'd only be okay with blank slate people.
Well, that's the appeal of Trump right now.
Yeah. Even though his slate actually is full of stuff, again, whether you like it or not.
Well, it's full of contradictory stuff.
Yeah.
So he, you know, one hand erases what the other hand wrote. He can be whatever you want him to be, as long as he's a racist, because that's ultimately what people want from him.
So what do you make of the people, and I get this part. Here's my part of Trump that I do actually get. Forget all the policies for a second, but I do get the part about
It's easy to forget the policies because they're right on.
Because they're all over the place. Right, and I've had ardent Trump supporters sit here, like Milo Yiannopoulos, sit here and basically tell me it's not about the policies, it's about this one thing that I'm going to tell you. And I at least get this part, which is that this is a cultural election this time. It has almost nothing to do with policy, but the one thing that he's getting with people, and I've seen this when I've been to colleges and liberals are coming up to me and saying this, that he's cracking this political correctness thing. Now, the irony of that is I don't think he's going to be some major free speech beacon because he talks about suing reporters all the time. But I do get the level of people are feeling very repressed right now, like they can't say anything and they're always screamed at and called racist and all that stuff. But I don't think you're with me on that.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think when Milo talks about political correctness, that term political correctness has come to mean, I think in those circles, nativism, racism, xenophobia, and what have you. When you say he's cracked political correctness, what he's cracked is the agreement that we had been coming to as a society. And that agreement was diversity is a benefit to the nation, and tolerance is a benefit to the nation. And having different points of view is a benefit to the nation. That has all gotten lumped into, that agreement has gotten lumped under political correctness. And when he says he's cracked political correctness, what I think he means is he's attempting to unravel that agreement. And what's left is white nationalism and nothing else.
Yeah.
Because Trump's appeal is not policy-based. He has none. It's not judgment-based. He seems to have no better judgment than anybody else, and possibly worse. It's not principle-based. He has none. It's not character-based. He has very little to none. All he has is, on day one, starting with Mexicans are rapists and whatever else he said. That's what he has. And he's built on that that's been his entire campaign, has been divisiveness and hatred geared towards angry white males.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing your answer on that, because obviously I like Milo and I've given him a platform, and we work together and stuff. But the whole point of my show is that I want to hear that, and I want to hear what you're saying.
Well, and when I've watched your show, I've watched him on it, and I think he's a disgrace. I think he's an utter disgrace.
I have a feeling you're going to hear from him on Twitter.
I very well might.
But he's not verified, so.
I know. I know. And,
so at least it starts there.
And it feels very calculated, and it feels very Machiavellian to me, and it feels very put on, and he is allowing himself to be used, I think, as a tool by the intolerant right. And the fact that he's gay, for example, is makes it all the more appalling to me, because he's giving them moral license to say, well, we like this guy, we like this crazy Brit, this crazy flaming Brit or whatever. And that is, I think, an unconscionable use of moral licensing, and that he's allowing himself to be used in that way.
Yeah.
And promoting himself in that way.
Moral licensing, I like that. Did you just come up with that right there?
No.
That's something. Somebody said that before.
I learned it from Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, okay, there you go. So moral licensing. So I guess part of this is that our system is just so broke that anyone that had a moral license or a moral compass, would you ever want to run for president? I mean, could you imagine as a smart person ever wanting to put yourself in that?
Into politics at all? No. No.
Yeah.
God,
so is that the bigger problem here? That we're just getting what we've created, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you've lived any kind of life, Hemingway, for example, Kerouac, whoever, those guys could not run for office. Right. Anybody who's lived a life that has any human experience.
Right, so meaning you might have cheated on your wife, you might have snorted some coke.
Sure. You might have done any number of things that make us human, make us flawed human beings. Mm-hmm. You know that stuff's going to come up. You know you're going to be vilified. So if you're thinking about running for office, somebody like Ted Cruz, for example, who's been thinking about being president his entire fucking life, he's lived his life in such a way to make his resume the resume of a future president, or at the very least a senator.
You're not exaggerating, by the way. There's video of him at like 16 saying, "I'm running for president."
I'm going to be president.
Yeah.
And so you live your life in a way that is calculatedly unrelatable to the rest of the nation. You know, someone like Bill Clinton, who I think probably was running for president his whole life too, at least he wears his humanity on his sleeve. He's like, I'm just a big goober.
Yeah.
And that's part of his appeal. But I can't imagine subjecting myself to the kind of public scrutiny that is required, knowing that there's people whose job is to dig up shit on you, just about your personal life.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with your ability to make good policy decisions.
Yeah, what does it tell you that when a show, what's the show with Kevin Spacey? It's blanking.
House of Cards.
When House of Cards, I watch House of Cards, and I think, wow, there's a lot more reality in that than anything that I'm watching on CNN. Meanwhile, all the CNN people are pretending to be themselves. I hate that, by the way.
Wait.
Do you like that?
Oh, no,
you know,
that
when
bugs me. Yeah, it bugs me.
It drives me fucking crazy. What movie was I watching just this past couple days ago? I was watching one of the just some superhero movie.
Right.
And it's like
Jake Tapper shows up or somebody.
Yeah. Well, it was Jake, who I like. I think it was Jake, who I like. What movie was it? Superhero movie.
Know.
Oh, Batman. Batman, Superman. I don't know if it was Jake actually. Oh, it was Anderson Cooper in that one. I was like, you guys are all pretending to be yourselves. Why can't we have alternate universes where there are also we can have kryptonite?
Well, also
but we can't have alternate newscasters.
If you're going to be a journalist, be a journalist.
Yeah.
Don't show up in Batman.
Yeah, right. But doesn't that show it's like they all want to be stars too?
Yeah.
And I say this, it's probably with some due irony, two people that are public people and share our opinions, but it's like they all want to be in, right? They go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yeah.
They all want to have dinner with these people and go to the parties and all that. That's, to me, one of the biggest problems we have in the whole country.
Well, the political star fucking, I guess I don't really have a problem with it. I think it doesn't upset me maybe the way that it upsets you, because I do feel like in any profession, most people in any given profession are trying to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when I see Anderson Cooper reporting on something, I feel like most of the time he's doing a pretty good job, you know?
I think he's pretty good.
Chuck Todd, who I think can be a little supercilious, but I think he's trying to do a good job, and I think he approaches things the way he approaches them for a very specific reason. Mm-hmm. It's thought out.
Yeah.
Jake Tapper the same way, and these guys will land punches. That kind of meshing of politicos and journalists doesn't really upset me, because it seems like, well, if you're a journalist, you want to have relationships with these people to get information.
Yeah, I guess for me the bigger problem is that if you ask easy questions, and look, I'm an interviewer, so if you ask easy questions, you're going to get them to come back. You know what I mean? So if I had Obama here one time, and I knew this is the one time that maybe will set up the rest of our relationship, I don't think I would attack him in a way that I might the second time.
But even as
that causes a problem, because then they always go at a press conference, they're always like, oh, guy who I know I get easy questions from,
Right, but there's a way to have that conversation, have a tough conversation with him or with anybody in a way that he doesn't feel attacked. I think most politicians are receptive to being asked tough questions in a respectful way. I thought Jon Stewart was a master at that.
Yeah. Jon
Stewart would have any conservative on his show, he would read their book and he would grill them about it. But it was always respectful. Yeah. And I think as a consequence, they would come on the show because they knew they would get a fair hearing for their ideas. Yeah. And they may walk out feeling foolish, but it's not because of him, it's because of them.